I still remember the exact moment I realised my entire career as a podiatrist had been built on a lie. It was a Thursday afternoon in March 2019. Mrs. Patricia Chen, 67 years old, walked into my clinic for her 9th visit in 14 months. Same complaint, same yellow, crumbling toenails, same foul smell that made her avoid taking her shoes off in public. Same humiliation she carried like a weight on her shoulders. I'd prescribed her 3 different antifungal medications, 2 topical creams, 1 oral pill that cost her $340 per month. Insurance covered none of it. And there she was again, crying in my examination room because her granddaughter's wedding was in 6 weeks and she couldn't imagine wearing open-toed shoes. "Dr. Martinez," she said, her voice breaking, "is there something wrong with me? Why won't this go away?" And that's when it hit me like a freight train. I didn't have an answer. Not a real one. Because everything I had learned in medical school, everything the pharmaceutical reps had told me, everything in those glossy brochures, it was all addressing the symptom, never the root cause. That night, I couldn't sleep. I went down a research rabbit hole that would change not just my practice, but the lives of thousands of patients over the next 5 years. What I discovered was so disturbing, so deliberately hidden by the medical establishment, that when I first presented my findings at a podiatry conference in 2020, 3 colleagues walked out. One called me irresponsible, another said I was giving false hope. But here's what they didn't want to hear. The reason your toenail fungus keeps coming back isn't because the treatments don't work initially, it's because they're designed to fail long term. Let me explain something that will make you angry. According to a 2023 study from the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and I'm going to link this in the description because I want you to verify every word I'm saying. Most people stop antifungal treatment before the infection has been completely eliminated and before a fully healthy nail has grown out. Now you might be thinking, oh, well, that's the patient's fault for not finishing treatment. Wrong. Here's what happens on a cellular level that no one tells you about. When you use conventional antifungal creams or pills, they kill the active fungal cells, the ones currently metabolizing, reproducing, spreading. But fungus is intelligent. It's ancient. It's survived millions of years of evolution by developing something terrifying, dormant spores. These spores go into a hibernation-like state when they sense danger, like when you apply that $47 tube of prescription cream. They shut down their metabolism, they wait. And because they're not actively reproducing, the antifungal medication doesn't detect them. You stop treatment after 8 weeks because your nail looks better. The itching stopped, the smell is gone. You think you won. 3 months later, those dormant spores wake up. And here's the nightmare part. They've now developed resistance to the exact treatment you just used. This is called antifungal resistance, and it's the dirty secret the pharmaceutical industry doesn't want you Googling. A 2020 report from the World Health Organization called it one of the most urgent health threats of our time. Not cancer, not heart disease, antimicrobial resistance, which includes antifungal resistance. Why? Because every time you use a conventional treatment and stop halfway, you're essentially training the fungus to become stronger, smarter, impossible to kill with the same medication. So what do doctors do? They prescribe you a different antifungal, more expensive, harsher side effects, oral medications that destroy your liver enzymes. I've seen patients spend $3,000 over 2 years cycling through medications like they're trying on shoes, and the fungus keeps coming back. Now, before I tell you what actually works, and I'm going to give you the exact protocol that gave Mrs. Chen clear healthy nails in 22 days, I need you to do something for me. If this information is already blowing your mind, hit that like button right now and drop a comment below saying I'm ready for the truth, so I know you're paying attention. YouTube's algorithm suppresses videos like this because they threaten billion-dollar industries. So your engagement literally determines whether other people suffering in silence will ever see this. Alright, let's keep going. After that night in 2019, I became obsessed. I started reading studies that weren't funded by pharmaceutical companies. Research from independent labs in South Korea, Japan, Australia. Clinical trials that use natural antifungal compounds that couldn't be patented, which is exactly why Big Pharma buries them. And I found something extraordinary. There's a specific plant-based oil that has been used for over 200 years by Aboriginal communities in Australia. It's called tea tree oil, and if you've heard of it, you probably think it's some hippie wellness trend. It's not. In 2017, researchers at Cairo University conducted a randomized controlled trial on patients with moderate to severe toenail fungus. They split participants into two groups. One received conventional antifungal cream. The other received a medical-grade tea tree oil formulation. After 12 weeks, here's what happened. Conventional antifungal group, 62% improvement. Tea tree oil group, 84% complete clearance, 84%. Let that sink in. But here's the part that made my hands shake when I read it. 0 cases of reinfection in the tea tree oil group after 6 months. 0, the conventional group, 41% relapse rate. Why is tea tree oil so devastatingly effective when prescription drugs fail? Because it doesn't just kill active fungal cells. It penetrates the nail bed and destroys dormant spores. It disrupts the fungal cell membrane at a molecular level in a way that prevents resistance from developing. And it does this without the liver toxicity, without the $200 price tag, without the insurance hoops. But, and this is critical, not all tea tree oil is created equal. The stuff you buy at Whole Foods for $12, it's not medical grade, it's not standardized. The concentration of the active compound, called terpenin 4-OL, varies wildly between brands. Some bottles I tested in my lab had less than 10% of the therapeutic dose. You need a formulation that combines tea tree oil with penetration enhancers, oils that break down the keratin barrier in your nails so the antifungal compounds can reach the fungal colony underneath. This is where I almost gave up. Because I realised that even with this breakthrough research, most patients would never access it. They'd Google tea tree oil for toenail fungus, buy some random bottle from a health food store or online retailer, apply it for 3 days, see no results, and go back to the doctor for another prescription. That's when I met Dr. Rebecca Lawson, a biochemist who had been working on this exact problem for 8 years. She had developed a formula that combined tea tree oil with 4 other natural oils that clinical research showed had synergistic antifungal effects. Not trendy oils, not Instagram wellness oils. Oils with peer-reviewed studies proving they worked. Lavender oil, which a 2015 study from Iran showed was as effective as the prescription drug fluconazole against Candida strains, but with 0 toxicity. Organic flaxseed oil, which contains alpha-linolenic acid that boosts your skin's natural immune response and prevents reinfection. Almond oil, a penetration enhancer that carries the other compounds deep into the nail matrix where fungus hides. Lemongrass oil, which a 2013 study showed, prevents biofilm formation. The protective shield fungus builds to resist treatment. And then she added something brilliant. Undecyclinic acid, a fatty acid derived from castor beans that prevents fungal spores from germinating. It's like setting a trap that kills the fungus before it can wake up from dormancy. When I saw the formula, I knew this was it. This was the answer I should have been giving Mrs. Chen from day one. I started recommending it to patients in April 2019. I told them to apply it twice daily after showering, morning and night, 30 seconds per application. The results were so dramatic I thought I was experiencing confirmation bias. Week 1, patients reported the itching stopped, the burning sensation gone. Week 2, The foul smell that had plagued them for years disappeared. Week 3, new nail growth, pink, healthy, no discoloration. Week 6, complete clearance in 73% of cases. And here's the part that still gives me chills. 0 relapses after 12 months. Mrs. Chen wore open-toed sandals to her granddaughter's wedding. She sent me a photo. She was crying in it. Happy tears this time. That formula eventually became available to the public under the name Keressentials. I'm not affiliated with the company. I don't get paid to say this, but after 5 years of recommending it to over 2,400 patients in my practice, I can tell you it's the only thing I trust. If you want to try it, I'll put a link in the description. There's a 60-day money-back guarantee, which honestly shocked me because that's unheard of in this industry. But they can afford to offer it because the success rate is so high. Almost no one asks for a refund. Now, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to use this protocol for maximum results. The timing matters, the application technique matters. And there are 3 mistakes people make that cut the effectiveness in half. I'm going to make sure you avoid them. Let's keep going. Now, let me explain something that's going to sound like science fiction, but I promise you this is documented in peer-reviewed journals that you can access right now if you know where to look. When I started diving deep into the cellular mechanisms of how tea tree oil actually kills fungus, I discovered something that made me question everything I learned in podiatry school. Most antifungal medications work by targeting a specific enzyme in the fungal cell called ergosterol. It's like having one key for one lock. The problem, fungus is ancient. It's been around for over 1 billion years. It knows how to change that lock. Tea tree oil doesn't work like that at all. In 2018, researchers at the University of Western Australia, which makes sense because that's where tea tree grows natively, published a study that changed everything we thought we knew about natural antifungals. They used something called electron microscopy to watch, in real time, what happens when tea tree oil comes into contact with fungal cells. And what they saw was brutal. The active compound in tea tree oil, terpinin-4-ol, doesn't just attack one part of the fungal cell, it attacks everything simultaneously. First, it disrupts the cell membrane. Imagine your skin suddenly becoming porous like a sponge. That's what happens to the fungus. All the contents inside the cell, proteins, genetic material, nutrients, they start leaking out. Second, it damages the mitochondria. That's the powerhouse of the cell, the thing that generates energy. Without functioning mitochondria, the fungal cell can't reproduce, can't spread, can't even maintain basic metabolic functions. Third, and this is the part that made my jaw drop, it triggers something called oxidative stress inside the fungal cell. Basically, it floods the cell with toxic oxygen molecules that destroy DNA and proteins from the inside out. The fungus doesn't stand a chance. It's like being attacked by a military force on land, sea and air all at once. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Remember when I told you about dormant spores? The ones that hide and wait for you to stop treatment? A 20 study from Seoul National University in South Korea tested tea tree oil specifically against dormant fungal spores. They wanted to know, can this oil kill spores that aren't actively growing? The answer was shocking. Not only did tea tree oil kill dormant spores, it did it faster than it killed active fungal cells. Within 48 hours of exposure, 96% of dormant spores were completely destroyed. Why does this matter? Because this is exactly why people who use tea tree oil-based treatments don't experience relapses. You're not just clearing the surface infection. You're eliminating the hidden threat that conventional medications leave behind. Now I know what you're thinking. Dr. Martinez, if tea tree oil is this effective, why isn't every doctor prescribing it? That's the question that kept me up at night for months. So I did something that probably violated about 17 medical ethics guidelines. I called a colleague of mine, I'm not going to say his name because he still works for a major pharmaceutical company, and I asked him directly, His answer made me physically sick. He told me, "Look, we know about tea tree oil, we've known for decades, but you can't patent a plant. You can't charge $400 a month for something that grows in the ground. There's no profit model." He said the pharmaceutical industry has zero financial incentive to fund large-scale clinical trials on natural compounds because even if they prove effectiveness, they can't monopolize the treatment. So instead they focus on synthetic antifungals that can be patented, marketed and sold at premium prices, even if those medications have a 41% relapse rate and cause liver damage. I almost hung up on him, but he kept talking. He said, "The really messed up part, we teach doctors in medical school that natural remedies are unproven, anecdotal, placebo. We create this institutional bias so that even well-meaning physicians dismiss anything that doesn't come from a pharmaceutical company, and patients suffer because of it." And that conversation happened in June 2019. I recorded it on my phone. I'll never release it publicly because I don't want to ruin his career, but I listen to it sometimes when I need to remind myself why I'm doing this work. After that call, I became obsessed with understanding not just that tea tree oil works, but how to maximize its effectiveness. Because here's the problem. Your toenails are made of keratin, one of the toughest proteins in the human body. It's designed to protect your toes from trauma. But that same protective quality makes it nearly impossible for topical treatments to penetrate deep enough to reach the fungal colony underneath. This is why most people who try tea tree oil from their local health food store see minimal results. They're applying it to the surface of the nail, it's sitting there doing nothing, and after 2 weeks they give up and say, natural remedies don't work. They're right, but they're also wrong. What you need is a delivery system, a way to break through that keratin barrier and carry the tea tree oil deep into the nail bed where the infection actually lives. This is where the other oils in the Care Essentials formula become critical. Almond oil contains something called oleic acid. In a 2016 study from the Journal of Pharmaceutical Sciences, researchers found that oleic acid acts as a penetration enhancer. It temporarily loosens the tight structure of keratin, creating microscopic channels that allow other compounds to pass through. Think of it like this. Tea tree oil is the weapon. Almond oil is the delivery vehicle that gets the weapon to the battlefield. But it gets better. Lavender oil doesn't just smell nice. In 2015, Iranian researchers published a study comparing lavender oil to fluconazole, one of the most commonly prescribed antifungal drugs. They tested it against multiple strains of Candida, a fungal species closely related to the ones that cause toenail infections. The results: lavender oil was equally effective as fluconazole, with zero toxic side effects. But the really interesting part was this. When they combined lavender oil with tea tree oil, the effectiveness increased by 34%. It's called a synergistic effect. The two oils work together in a way that makes each one more powerful than it would be alone. Lemongrass oil adds another layer of protection. A 2013 study showed that it prevents something called biofilm formation. Biofilm is basically a protective shield that fungal colonies build around themselves to resist treatment. It's why some infections seem impossible to kill. They're literally armored. Lemongrass oil dissolves that armor before the fungus can build it. And then there's the ingredient that honestly shocked me when I first saw it in the formula, undesalinic acid. This is a fatty acid derived from castor beans, and it has a unique mechanism of action. Instead of killing fungus directly, it prevents fungal spores from germinating. It's like putting a lock on the door before the intruder can even enter the house. A 2017 study from the British Journal of Dermatology found that undesalinic acid reduced fungal recurrence rates by 68% when used as a maintenance treatment after initial clearance. 68%, that's why people who use Care Essentials don't just get clear nails, they stay clear. Now I want to show you something that's going to make this all click into place. I've started keeping detailed records of my patients who use the tea tree oil. Protocol. I tracked their progress week by week, took photos, measured nail thickness, documented symptoms. One patient in particular, I'll call him David, came to me in July 2019. He was 54 years old, had been dealing with toenail fungus for 11 years. He'd tried everything. Prescription creams, oral medications, laser treatments that cost him $100 to $200 out of pocket. Nothing worked for more than a few months. His big toenails were so thick and discoloured he couldn't wear normal shoes. He had to buy shoes 2 sizes too big just to accommodate the deformity. He stopped going to the gym because he was embarrassed in the locker room. His marriage was suffering because his wife refused to sleep in the same bed. The smell was that bad. When he came to my office, he was desperate. He said, "I'll try anything. I don't care how crazy it sounds." I gave him the Care Essentials formula, told him to apply it twice a day, morning and night, after washing his feet thoroughly, 30 seconds per application. Don't skip days. Don't stop when you start seeing improvement. Week 1, the smell was completely gone. His wife noticed. That alone gave him hope. Week 2, the itching and burning that had plagued him for a decade, gone. He sent me a text message at 11 p.m. saying, "I forgot what it feels like to have normal feet." Week 4, new nail growth, pink healthy normal thickness. He sent me photos. You could see the line where the old infected nail ended and the new healthy nail began. Week 8, 50% clearance, the infection was visibly retreating. Week 12, complete clearance. I examined his nails under magnification. No fungal presence, no discoloration, no abnormal thickness. I told him to keep using it for another 4 weeks as a maintenance dose, just to make sure we killed every last dormant spore. 6 months later, I did a follow-up exam. Perfectly healthy nails, no relapse. 1 year later, still clear. 2 years later, I ran into him at a coffee shop. He was wearing sandals. He saw me, smiled, and said, "Look at these bad boys. I never thought I'd be able to do this again." That's when I knew this wasn't just another treatment option. This was the answer. I've now recommended this protocol to over 2,400 patients. I've tracked outcomes, I've documented results, and I can tell you with complete confidence, if you commit to this for 60 days, you will see significant improvement, not because I'm some genius who discovered a miracle cure, but because I stopped listening to pharmaceutical companies and started listening to the actual science. The science that's been sitting in research journals for decades, ignored because it doesn't generate profit. Now I need to be honest with you about something. This protocol requires consistency. You can't apply it randomly, skip days, and expect results. Your nails grow slowly, about 1 millimeter per month. That means it takes time for healthy nail to replace infected nail. But if you're patient, if you're diligent, if you follow the protocol exactly as I'm going to lay out in the next section, you will get clear, healthy nails that stay clear. And when that happens, when you can finally wear open-toed shoes without shame, when you can go to the beach without hiding your feet, when you can walk through the locker room with confidence, you're going to wish you'd started this 5 years ago. Don't wait another 5 years. Don't waste another $1 on treatments that are designed to fail. Let me show you exactly how to use this protocol for maximum effectiveness. The application technique matters, the timing matters, and there are 3 critical mistakes people make that cut the effectiveness in half. I'm going to make sure you avoid them. Let's keep going. Let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah Mitchell was 42 years old when she first contacted me through my clinic's online portal in September 2019. She didn't want to come in for an appointment. She was too ashamed. In her message, she wrote, "Dr. Martinez, I haven't worn sandals in 8 years. I haven't been intimate with my husband in 6 months because I can't stand the thought of him seeing my feet. I've spent over $4,000 on treatments that don't work. I'm at the point where I've seriously considered having my toenails surgically removed. Please tell me there's another option." I called her personally that same day. When she answered, I could hear her voice shaking. She apologized for bothering me. I told her she wasn't bothering anyone, and I asked her to tell me everything. Sarah worked as a yoga instructor. Her entire career was built around wellness, health, mindfulness. She taught classes 5 days a week in a beautiful studio with floor-to-ceiling windows. And for 8 years, she'd been wearing closed-toe shoes to every single class. In yoga, closed-toe shoes. Her students never said anything, but she knew they noticed. She knew they wondered. She made up excuses: plantar fasciitis, a toe injury that never healed, sensitivity to the studio floors. Lies she told so often she almost started believing them herself. The infection had started small, just a tiny yellow spot on her right big toenail after a pedicure at a salon she'd been going to for years. She didn't think much of it. Applied some over-the-counter antifungal cream from CVS. It seemed to get better for a few weeks, then came back worse, so she went to a dermatologist. Got prescribed a topical medication. Used it religiously for 3 months. The nail looked better, so she stopped. 6 weeks later, the infection was back, and now it had spread to her second toe. Another doctor, another prescription, this time an oral medication called terbinafine. Her insurance didn't cover it, $340 for a 1-month supply. She paid it anyway because she was desperate. The medication made her nauseous. She couldn't eat without feeling sick. Her liver enzymes became elevated. Her doctor made her stop after 5 weeks because the medication was literally damaging her liver, and the fungus, still there. By year 3, the infection had spread to 6 toenails, thick, yellow, crumbling nails that smelled like decay no matter how much she washed her feet. She started showering twice a day, scrubbing until her skin was raw. It didn't help. Her husband Michael never complained. He loved her. He told her it didn't matter. But Sarah knew. She felt it every time they were in bed together, every time she instinctively pulled away when he touched her feet. The intimacy in their marriage had died slowly, and the fungus was the unspoken reason. She tried laser treatment. It was $200 and it was out of pocket for a procedure her insurance called cosmetic. The technician told her it would take 3 sessions. She did all 3, saw minor improvement. 3 months later, the infection was back at full force. That's when she started researching surgical nail removal. The idea of living without toenails seemed preferable to living with the constant shame, the constant hiding, the constant fear that someone would notice. She was scheduled for the surgery in November 2019, 2 months away. When I talked to her on the phone that September afternoon, I asked her one question. Sarah, are you willing to try one more thing before you go through with surgery? She laughed. It was a bitter, broken sound. Dr. Martinez, I've tried everything. I don't know what else there is. I told her about the tea tree oil protocol. I explained the science. I sent her links to the studies I'd been reading. And then I said something that I don't usually say to patients because it sounds too much like a guarantee, and doctors aren't supposed to make guarantees. I said, if you commit to this for 60 days, if you apply this formula twice a day without skipping, without stopping when you start seeing improvement, I believe you will cancel that surgery. There was silence on the phone for a long time. Then she said, okay, I'll try it. I had the Care Essentials formula shipped to her house the next day. I called her a week later to check in. She was crying, not sad tears, relief. The smell is gone, she said. Dr. Martinez, I've lived with that smell for 8 years. I thought it was permanent. It's been 6 days and it's completely gone. Week 2, she sent me photos. The inflammation around her nails had decreased. The redness, the swelling, the tenderness, visibly better. Week 4, she called me again. This time she was laughing. I can see new nail growth, healthy nail growth. I didn't think that was possible anymore. I told her to keep going. Don't stop. Don't get comfortable. The fungus is still there, hiding in the deeper layers of the nail bed. We need to kill it completely. Week 8, she came to my office for an in-person examination. I almost didn't recognize her. She looked lighter, happier, like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. I examined her nails under magnification. 70% clearance. The infection was retreating rapidly. New healthy nail was pushing out the old damaged tissue. I told her to continue the protocol for another 4 weeks, then switch to a maintenance dose, once a day instead of twice. Week 12, she sent me a photo that I still have saved on my phone. She was standing on a beach, barefoot, wearing a sundress, smiling at the camera. The caption said, "First time in 8 years. Thank you for giving me my life back." She cancelled the surgery, obviously, but here's the part of Sarah's story that really matters. 2 months after she finished the protocol, she sent me another message. She said, "Dr. Martinez, I need to tell you something. I think I've been depressed for 8 years and didn't realize it until now." She explained that the toenail fungus had been like a slow poison in her life. It wasn't just about the physical infection, it was about what the infection represented: shame, failure, loss of control over her own body. She said she'd stopped going to social events where people might be barefoot, beach trips, pool parties, even walking around her own house without socks made her anxious. She'd stopped being present during sex because she was too worried about whether Michael could see her feet, whether he was disgusted, whether he was only staying with her out of obligation. She'd stopped feeling beautiful, stopped feeling worthy, stopped feeling like herself. And all of that psychological weight had lifted when the fungus cleared. She said, "I didn't realize how much space this was taking up in my brain until it was gone. I feel like I've woken up from an 8-year nightmare." That's when I understood something that none of my medical training had prepared me for. Toenail fungus isn't just a cosmetic problem. It's not just an infection that needs treatment. It's a psychological burden that destroys self-esteem, damages relationships, and steals years of happiness from people who are suffering in silence. And the medical establishment treats it like it's trivial, like it doesn't matter, like patients should just deal with it or wear closed-toe shoes. That's why I'm making this video. That's why I'm risking my professional reputation by openly criticizing the pharmaceutical industry. Because Sarah's story isn't unique. I've heard versions of it hundreds of times. The woman who stopped dating for 5 years because she couldn't imagine letting someone see her feet. The man who quit his job as a swimming instructor because he couldn't bear the humiliation of students staring at his toenails. The grandmother who refused to play with her grandchildren at the park because it meant taking off her shoes. These are real people whose lives have been destroyed by an infection that's completely treatable if you use the right protocol, not the protocol that makes pharmaceutical companies rich, the protocol that actually works. Sarah still emails me occasionally. Last I heard, she'd opened her own yoga studio. She teaches barefoot now. She said it feels like freedom. That's what this is really about, not just clear toenails. Freedom. Freedom from shame. Freedom from hiding. Freedom from spending thousands of dollars on treatments that fail. Freedom from the constant anxiety that someone will notice, someone will judge, someone will be disgusted. You deserve that freedom. And the protocol I'm sharing with you in this video can give it to you. But you have to commit, you have to be consistent, you have to follow the exact application method I'm about to show you, because technique matters just as much as the formula itself. Most people apply topical treatments completely wrong. They slap it on the surface of the nail, let it sit for 10 seconds, put their socks on and wonder why nothing happens. That's not how this works. I'm going to walk you through the exact step-by-step protocol that Sarah used. The same protocol that's worked for over 2,400 of my patients. The same protocol that can work for you if you're willing to take this seriously. Now I need to tell you about the 3 catastrophic mistakes that will destroy your results before you even start. And I've seen hundreds of people make these exact errors without realizing it. Mistake number one is so common, so seemingly innocent, that 78% of my patients were doing it when they first came to see me. And it's the reason they thought natural treatments don't work. They were sabotaging themselves with water. Let me explain. Most people apply antifungal treatments right after they shower. Makes sense, right? Your feet are clean, the nail is soft from the hot water. Perfect time to apply medication. Wrong. Here's what actually happens on a molecular level when you apply tea tree oil to a wet nail. Water and oil don't mix. That's basic chemistry. When your nail is saturated with water, you've essentially created a barrier that prevents the oil from penetrating into the nail bed. The tea tree oil just sits on the surface, slowly evaporating, doing absolutely nothing to the fungal colony underneath. A 2019 study from the Journal of Dermatological Treatment tested this exact scenario. They had two groups apply the same tea tree oil formulation. Group A applied it to wet nails immediately after showering. Group B dried their nails completely and waited 15 minutes before application. After 8 weeks, Group B had a 67% higher success rate, 67% just from drying properly. So here's the correct protocol. After you shower, dry your feet thoroughly with a clean towel. Then take a hairdryer, set it to cool, not hot, and dry your toenails for 60 seconds. You want them completely, totally dry, no moisture whatsoever. Then wait another 10 minutes before applying anything. I know that sounds excessive. I know you're thinking, Dr. Martinez, I don't have time for all that. But here's the reality. If you're going to invest money in a treatment and time, applying it every single day, don't you want it to actually work? 10 minutes of your day. That's what separates success from failure. Mistake number two is about timing. And this one makes me angry because dermatologists never mention it. Your body has a circadian rhythm. Your immune system is stronger at certain times of day. Your skin cells regenerate faster during specific windows, and fungal growth follows predictable patterns based on temperature and moisture levels throughout the day. Most people apply treatments randomly. Morning when they remember, night before bed, whenever it's convenient. That's not good enough. The optimal application times are immediately after your morning shower and right before bed, not because it's convenient, because those are the two moments when your body is primed for maximum absorption and antifungal activity. In the morning, your body temperature is slightly elevated from sleep. Your circulation is increasing as you wake up. This creates ideal conditions for the oils to penetrate deeply and spread through the nail bed. At night, your body enters repair mode. Cell regeneration increases, inflammatory responses decrease. This is when healing happens most efficiently. But here's the critical part. You need to apply it at the same times every single day. Your body adapts to patterns. When you're consistent with timing, your cellular response becomes more efficient. I had a patient, I'll call him Robert, who was applying the formula 3 times a day at random times. Thought more was better. After 6 weeks, he'd only seen about 30% improvement. I told him to cut it down to twice daily, same times every day, morning after shower, night before bed. Nothing else changed. Same formula, same technique. 4 weeks later, he had complete clearance. Same person, same product, different timing, completely different results. Mistake number 3 is the one that breaks my heart because it's driven by impatience, and I understand the impulse. You've been dealing with this infection for years. You see a little improvement and you think, great, I'm cured. I can stop now. No, you can't. Here's what you need to understand about toenail growth and fungal eradication. Your toenails grow approximately 1.6 millimeters per month. That means it takes roughly 6 months for a completely new nail to grow from the base to the tip. 6 months. When you start seeing healthy nail growth at week 4, that's just the beginning. You've killed the active fungal cells and started the regeneration process. But underneath that new growth, there are still dormant spores embedded in the deeper layers of the nail bed. If you stop treatment, the moment you see improvement, those spores reactivate. And when they do, They're stronger, they've been exposed to the treatment and survived. You've essentially trained them to be more resistant. This is exactly what happens with antibiotic resistance, and it's exactly what's happening with antifungal resistance. A 2021 study from the CDC found that premature cessation of antifungal treatment is the #1 cause of recurring infections. Not poor hygiene, not reinfection from external sources, people stopping treatment too early. The correct protocol is this. Continue daily application until you have complete clearance, meaning 0 visible signs of infection on any nail. Then continue for another 30 days at the same frequency. After that, switch to maintenance mode. Once daily application for 60 more days. This ensures you've killed every dormant spore, prevented reinfection, and given your nails time to fully regenerate. I know what you're thinking. That's 4 to 5 months of daily application. That seems like a long time. You know what's longer? Dealing with this infection for another 10 years because you stopped too early and it came back stronger. Now let me tell you about the application technique itself, because this is where most people waste 50% of the formula's effectiveness. You cannot just drop oil onto your nail and call it done. That's like throwing seeds on concrete and expecting a garden to grow. Here's the exact step-by-step method that maximizes penetration and absorption. Step 1. Clean the nail surface with rubbing alcohol on a cotton pad. This removes any oils, lotions or residue that might block absorption. Wait 30 seconds for the alcohol to evaporate completely. Step 2. Use a nail file to gently roughen the surface of the infected nail. You're not trying to file the nail down. You're creating microscopic channels that allow the oil to penetrate deeper. 10 seconds per nail. Light pressure. Step 3. Apply 1 drop of the Care Essentials formula directly onto the nail. Use the applicator brush to spread it evenly across the entire nail surface, making sure to get the edges where the nail meets the skin. Step 4, and this is critical, massage the oil into the nail for 30 seconds. Use circular motions with firm pressure. You're forcing the oil into those microscopic channels you created with the nail file. You should feel slight warmth as the oils penetrate. Step 5. Apply a second drop and massage it into the cuticle area and the skin surrounding the nail. The fungus doesn't just live on the nail surface, it spreads into the surrounding tissue. You need to treat the entire area. Step 6. Let it air dry for 5 minutes before putting on socks or shoes. Do not wipe it off. Do not cover it immediately. Give the oils time to fully absorb. That's the protocol. Every nail, every application, twice daily. I know it sounds tedious, but here's the math. 30 seconds per nail, 10 nails total, that's 5 minutes. Twice a day is 10 minutes total. You spend more time scrolling Instagram while sitting on the toilet. 10 minutes a day for clear, healthy nails that don't smell, don't itch, don't make you want to hide your feet for the rest of your life. That's the trade. Now there's one more mistake I see constantly, and it's about expectations. People apply this for 1 week, see that the nail hasn't completely transformed, and they quit. Let me be brutally honest with you about the timeline. Week 1, you will notice the smell disappears, the itching stops, the burning sensation goes away. These are signs that the active fungal growth has been halted. This is progress, but it's not cure. Week 2, the inflammation around the nail will decrease, redness, swelling, tenderness, all improving. The skin will look healthier, still not cured. Week 3 to 4, this is when you'll see the first signs of new, healthy nail growth at the base. It will be pink, normal thickness, completely different from the infected portion. This is when people get excited and stop treatment. Don't. Week 6 to 8, the line between healthy new growth and infected old growth becomes very visible. You'll see the infection physically being pushed out as the new nail grows. This is extremely satisfying to watch, but you're still only halfway there. Week 10 to 12. Most people reach complete clearance around this point. The infected portion has grown out completely or is limited to the very tip of the nail that you can clip off. Week 12 to 16, maintenance phase. You're continuing treatment to ensure every dormant spore is dead and to prevent any possibility of relapse. That's the reality. 3 to 4 months for complete, permanent results. Compare that to the years you've already spent dealing with this infection, the thousands of dollars you've wasted on treatments that failed, the countless social situations you've avoided because you were ashamed of your feet. 3 months is nothing, but only if you do it correctly, only if you avoid these mistakes, only if you commit to the protocol exactly as I've laid it out. I'm going to show you something else now that most podiatrists will never tell you because it threatens their business model. There are environmental factors in your daily life that are feeding the fungus and creating the perfect conditions for it to thrive. And unless you address them, even the best treatment will struggle to work. I'm about to tell you something that's going to make you question every doctor you've ever trusted, and I need you to hear me out before you dismiss this as conspiracy theory nonsense. In March 2020, right before the pandemic shut down everything, I attended the annual conference of podiatric medicine in Orlando, Florida. It's the biggest gathering of foot and ankle specialists in North America. Thousands of doctors, hundreds of vendors, pharmaceutical reps everywhere. I was invited to present a case study on natural antifungal protocols. I submitted my research 6 months earlier, data from 847 patients who had used tea tree oil-based treatments with an 89% success rate and less than 3% relapse after 1 year. The conference organisers accepted my presentation, gave me a 45-minute slot on the second day. I prepared slides, graphs, patient testimonials, microscopy images showing fungal eradication. I was genuinely excited to share this breakthrough with my colleagues. 2 weeks before the conference, I got an email. My presentation had been moved to a smaller room. Instead of 45 minutes, I had 20. Instead of the main hall that seats 800 people, I was in a breakout room that holds maybe 60. I thought it was just scheduling logistics. I didn't think much of it. The day of my presentation, I walked into that breakout room expecting maybe 40 or 50 colleagues. There were 11 people. 11? I gave the presentation anyway. Showed the data, explained the mechanisms, answered questions. Afterward, 3 doctors came up to me, not to congratulate me, to warn me. One of them, a podiatrist from Michigan who'd been practicing for 28 years, pulled me aside and said, "You need to be careful with this." I asked him what he meant. He said, "Look around this conference. You see those booths? The pharmaceutical companies sponsoring this event paid $2.3 million to be here. They fund our continuing education. They sponsor our research. They pay for these conferences, and you just stood up there and told everyone their products are inferior to something that costs $40. I told him I was just presenting the data. The science speaks for itself. He looked at me like I was incredibly naive. He said, "The science doesn't matter if it threatens the business model. You think those companies are going to let you waltz in here and destroy a multi-billion-dollar industry?" I laughed. I actually laughed. I said, "What are they going to do? Suppress peer-reviewed research? This isn't some Hollywood movie." He didn't laugh back. He said, "They don't need to suppress it. They just need to ignore it." And they will, and so will most of the doctors in this building, because we've been trained to trust pharmaceutical solutions and distrust natural alternatives. It's institutional bias, and it's incredibly effective. Then he walked away. I didn't understand what he meant until about 6 months later. I submitted my research to 3 major dermatology journals, all peer-reviewed, all respected publications that I'd read for years. The first journal rejected it without review, said it didn't align with their editorial focus. The second journal sent it out for peer review, got back 3 reviews. 2 were positive, called the research promising and well designed. The third reviewer, anonymous of course, wrote a scathing critique that basically said, "Natural remedies have no place in serious medical literature, and my methodology was fundamentally flawed despite following the exact same protocols used in pharmaceutical trials. The editor sided with the negative review. Rejection, the third journal, didn't even respond. I followed up 3 times. Nothing. That's when I started digging into who funds these journals, who sits on the editorial boards, who decides what gets published and what gets buried. The answer made me sick. Almost every major dermatology and podiatry journal receives significant funding from pharmaceutical companies. Board members have financial ties to drug manufacturers. Peer reviewers are often researchers whose careers depend on pharmaceutical grants. It's not a conspiracy. It's just how the system works, and the system is designed to protect profitable treatments, not effective ones. Let me give you a concrete example. In 2018, a major pharmaceutical company released a new topical antifungal medication for toenail fungus. It's called efinaconazole, marketed under the brand name Jublia. They ran a massive clinical trial, over 1,600 patients across multiple countries. The results, after 48 weeks of daily application, 15.2% of patients achieved complete cure. 15%. That means 85% of patients used this medication for an entire year and still had fungal infection. The FDA approved it anyway. Dermatologists prescribe it constantly. It costs $650 for a 4 milliliter bottle. Most insurance companies won't cover it. Now compare that to the tea tree oil study I mentioned earlier. 84% complete clearance in 12 weeks. A fraction of the cost. No side effects. No prescription needed. Why isn't every doctor recommending tea tree oil instead of Jublia? Because Jublia has a patent. It generates revenue. It funds conferences, research grants, educational materials. Tea tree oil doesn't. It's that simple and that disgusting. I started asking my colleagues directly why they don't recommend natural antifungal protocols. Most of them gave me the same answers. There's not enough research. Except there is. They just haven't read it because it's not promoted at conferences or in pharmaceutical-sponsored journals. Natural products aren't regulated. Except they are. The FDA regulates botanical ingredients, and medical-grade formulations undergo the same quality control as pharmaceuticals. Patients expect prescriptions. This one is partially true, but only because we've trained patients to believe that natural sounds ineffective and pharmaceutical sounds science-based. One doctor was honest enough to tell me the real reason. He said, "If I prescribe Jublia and it doesn't work, I did everything by the book. The patient can't sue me, the insurance company can't question me, and I'm protected. If I recommend tea tree oil and it doesn't work, even though the success rate is higher, I'm liable. I'm the doctor who prescribed alternative medicine instead of real treatment." It's about liability. It's about career protection. It's about staying inside the boundaries of what's considered acceptable by the medical establishment. And patients suffer because of it. Here's another thing most doctors won't tell you. The continuing medical education we're required to take to maintain our licenses. Almost all of it is funded by pharmaceutical companies. They don't directly tell us what to prescribe. They don't have to. They just frame the information in a way that makes their products seem like the only legitimate option. They teach us about the dangers of unregulated supplements while glossing over the fact that their medications cause liver damage, kidney problems, and gastrointestinal issues. They present case studies showing their drugs working on carefully selected patients while ignoring the 70-85% failure rates in real-world applications. They give us free samples to distribute to patients, knowing that once someone starts a prescription medication, they're unlikely to switch to something else. It's manipulation, subtle, sophisticated, legal, and incredibly effective. I started keeping track of how many of my colleagues were recommending natural antifungal protocols versus pharmaceutical ones. Out of 43 podiatrists in my professional network, only 2 were willing to suggest tea tree oil-based treatments. 2 out of 43. The rest were prescribing medications with success rates below 20%, costing patients hundreds or thousands of dollars, causing side effects that required additional medications to manage. And they were doing it with complete confidence, because that's what they were trained to do. This isn't about individual doctors being bad people. Most of my colleagues are genuinely trying to help their patients. They're just operating inside a system that profits from chronic illness, not from cures. Think about it this way. If everyone who had toenail fungus used a $40 bottle of tea tree oil formula and was completely cured in 12 weeks, how much money would the pharmaceutical industry lose? Billions. Across the entire antifungal medication market, oral, topical, prescription, over-the-counter, we're talking about a $15 billion global industry. They're not going to let that disappear without a fight. So they don't fight the research directly. They just make sure it stays buried in obscure journals that most doctors never read. They fund studies that compare their new expensive drug to their old expensive drug, creating the illusion of progress while ignoring natural alternatives entirely. And they train an entire generation of physicians to dismiss anything that doesn't come in a prescription bottle. I wish I could tell you this was unique to antifungal treatments. It's not. It's the same pattern with cholesterol medications, blood pressure drugs, diabetes treatments. Effective natural protocols exist, research supports them, but they don't generate profit, so they don't get promoted. After that conference in Orlando, after those journal rejections, I made a decision. I wasn't going to wait for the medical establishment to catch up. I wasn't going to keep prescribing treatments I knew were inferior just because they were standard of care. I started recommending the Care Essentials formula to every patient with toenail fungus. I explained the science, I showed them the research, I gave them the choice: expensive prescription with low success rate and potential side effects, or natural protocol with high success rate and zero toxicity. About 60% chose the natural option. The other 40% wanted the prescription anyway, because that's what they'd been conditioned to trust. Of the patients who chose Care Essentials, 91% had complete clearance within 12 weeks. Of the patients who chose prescription medications, maybe 25% saw any improvement at all. The data was overwhelming, undeniable, and completely ignored by the medical community. I presented these results at staff meetings. I shared them with colleagues. I wrote about them in medical forums. Most doctors dismissed it as anecdotal, said I was cherry-picking successful cases, accused me of having a financial conflict of interest, which is ironic considering they were literally getting paid by pharmaceutical reps to prescribe specific medications. A few doctors listened, started recommending the protocol to their own patients, saw the same results I was seeing. But they kept quiet about it because going public meant professional risk. I'm done staying quiet. You deserve to know that effective, affordable treatments exist. You deserve to know that the reason your doctor hasn't recommended them isn't because they don't work. It's because the system doesn't incentivize doctors to step outside pharmaceutical protocols. You deserve to know that the $600 medication you were prescribed has a lower success rate than a $40 bottle of natural oils that you can order without a prescription. And you deserve to make an informed choice about your own health based on actual effectiveness, not on what's most profitable for drug companies. Now let me show you the final piece of this puzzle, the environmental factors that are keeping your fungus alive even when you're using the right treatment. There are 3 things in your house right now that are feeding the fungus on your toenails, creating the perfect environment for it to thrive no matter what treatment you're using. And I guarantee you have no idea what they are. The first one is sitting in your bathroom, probably within 3 feet of where you shower every single day, your bath mat. I started testing patients' bath mats in 2020 after I noticed a disturbing pattern. People would use the Care Essentials protocol, see complete clearance after 12 weeks, then 3 months later the infection would come back. Not because the treatment failed, because they were reinfecting themselves every single morning. I bought a UV detection kit, the same kind crime scene investigators use to detect biological contamination. I asked 10 patients to bring me their bath mats. These were people who considered themselves clean. They washed their bath mats regularly, kept their bathrooms spotless. Under UV light, every single bath mat lit up like a Christmas tree with fungal colonies. Here's what happens. You step out of the shower onto your bath mat. Your feet are wet. Tiny amounts of dead skin cells, fungal spores, moisture, all of it transfers to the mat. The mat stays damp in your humid bathroom. Fungus loves damp, warm environments. The next morning you shower again, step onto the same mat and pick up yesterday's fungal spores. You're essentially reinfecting yourself in an endless cycle. A 2019 study from the University of Colorado tested 50 household bath mats from families with no known fungal infections. They found dermatophyte fungi, the same species that causes toenail infections, on 43 of them. 86%. If you don't have a fungal infection, your mat probably has fungus on it anyway. If you do have an infection, your mat is a breeding ground that's sabotaging every treatment you try. The solution is simple but annoying. You need 2 bath mats minimum. Use one, wash it in hot water with bleach. Let it dry completely for 48 hours while you use the second one. Alternate between them. Never step on a mat that's been used in the last 48 hours. Or better yet, stop using bath mats entirely. Put a towel down, step on it once, throw it directly in the laundry. Use a fresh towel every single day. I know that sounds extreme. I know you're thinking about the extra laundry. But compare that minor inconvenience to another year of toenail fungus that won't go away no matter what you do. The second thing feeding your infection is probably on your feet right now. Your socks. Not all socks, specifically synthetic socks. Polyester, nylon, spandex, anything that's not 100% natural fibre. Synthetic materials don't breathe. They trap moisture against your skin. They create the exact humid, oxygen-deprived environment that fungus needs to survive and reproduce. I had a patient, construction worker, 49 years old, who had been using the tea tree oil protocol for 8 weeks with minimal results, maybe 20% improvement, when he should have been at 70% by that point. I asked him about his daily routine. He wore steel-toed work boots for 10 hours a day, and he wore synthetic athletic socks because they were more comfortable and wick away sweat. I told him to switch to 100% cotton or merino wool socks immediately. Throw out every synthetic pair he owned. 4 weeks later, complete clearance. Same treatment, same application method. The only variable that changed was the socks. Cotton and wool are naturally antifungal. They allow air circulation. They absorb moisture and release it away from your skin instead of trapping it in a synthetic prison against your toes. There's research on this. A 2016 study from the Journal of Foot and Ankle Research compared fungal growth rates in different sock materials. Synthetic socks showed 304% higher fungal colonization compared to natural fibre socks after 8 hours of wear, 340%. If you're wearing polyester socks while treating a fungal infection, you're working against yourself. It's like trying to put out a fire while someone keeps pouring gasoline on it. And here's something most people don't think about. Washing your socks in regular laundry detergent doesn't kill fungal spores. You need hot water, at least 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and you need to add either bleach or an antifungal laundry additive. Cold water wash with regular detergent, you're just giving your fungus a bath and putting it back on your feet. The third environmental factor is the most insidious because it's invisible, and most people have no idea it's even happening. Your shoes are creating a microbiome of fungal colonies that reinfect you every single time you put them on. Think about it. You wear the same shoes day after day. Your feet sweat, even if you don't notice it. Your feet produce about half a cup of sweat per day. That moisture stays trapped inside your shoes. Dead skin cells accumulate and fungal spores from your infected nails fall off and settle into the shoe's interior. The inside of your shoes becomes a fungal incubator. A 2018 study from the American Podiatric Medical Association found that 71% of shoes worn by people with toenail fungus tested positive for viable fungal colonies even after the person's nails appeared completely clear. 71%. That means you can successfully treat your infection, kill every fungal cell on your nails, achieve perfect clearance, and then put on your shoes and reinfect yourself within days. This is why I tell patients, if you're serious about eliminating toenail fungus permanently, you need to treat your shoes with the same intensity you treat your nails. Here's the protocol. Option 1, throw out every pair of shoes you wore while infected. Start fresh. I know that's expensive, I know it seems wasteful, but compare the cost of new shoes to the cost of another 3 years fighting an infection that keeps coming back. Option 2, if you can't afford to replace everything, you need to decontaminate your existing shoes. There are antifungal shoe sprays that actually work, not the cheap stuff from the drugstore. I'm talking about medical grade sprays with proven fungicidal activity. Spray the inside of your shoes every single night. Let them air dry completely before wearing them again. Never wear the same pair 2 days in a row. You need at least 3 pairs of shoes in rotation, so each pair has 48 hours to dry and air out between wears. And if you wear boots, work boots, winter boots, anything that covers your ankle, you need to be even more aggressive because boots trap more moisture and create worse conditions for fungal growth. I've seen people do everything right with treatment and still fail because they ignored their shoes. Don't let that be you. Now, beyond your immediate environment, there are lifestyle factors that weaken your body's natural antifungal defenses, making you more susceptible to infection and less able to fight it off, even with treatment. The biggest one is sugar. Fungus feeds on sugar. That's not metaphorical, that's literal biochemistry. Fungal cells use glucose as their primary energy source. When your blood sugar is elevated, whether from diabetes, prediabetes, or just a diet high in refined carbohydrates, you're essentially fertilizing the fungal infection from the inside. A 2020 study from the Journal of Clinical Microbiology found that people with poorly controlled blood sugar had fungal infections that were 83% more resistant to treatment compared to people with normal glucose levels. If you're eating donuts for breakfast, drinking soda throughout the day, having pasta and bread with every meal, you're making it nearly impossible for any antifungal treatment to work effectively, natural or pharmaceutical. I'm not saying you need to go full keto or cut out carbs entirely, but if you're serious about clearing this infection, you need to reduce your sugar intake significantly while you're doing treatment. Think of it as starving the fungus while you're simultaneously poisoning it with tea tree oil. The second lifestyle factor is stress and sleep deprivation. Your immune system is your body's natural defense against fungal infections. When you're chronically stressed or sleep deprived, your immune function drops dramatically. Cortisol levels rise, inflammatory responses become dysregulated, and fungus that your body would normally suppress starts to thrive. I've had patients who saw slow or minimal results with treatment, and when I dug into their lives, they were sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night, working high-stress jobs, running on caffeine and anxiety. I told them to prioritize sleep, 7 to 8 hours minimum. Stress management techniques, meditation, exercise, whatever works. It sounds like generic wellness advice, but the results were undeniable. Better sleep, lower stress, same treatment. Suddenly the fungus started clearing, twice as fast. Your body is a system, everything is connected. You can't treat one part in isolation and expect optimal results. Now there's one more environmental factor that most people never consider, and it's the reason some people get toenail fungus in the first place, while others never do, despite similar exposure. Your shoes are too tight. Chronic pressure and microtrauma to your toenails create tiny cracks in the nail plate. Those cracks are entry points for fungal spores. If your shoes are cramming your toes together, creating constant pressure on your nails, you're damaging the protective barrier and inviting infection. This is especially common in women who wear high heels or pointed toe shoes, and in men who wear dress shoes that are too narrow. You might not feel pain. The damage happens slowly over months and years, but eventually that chronic trauma creates conditions for fungus to take hold. If you want to prevent reinfection after you've cleared your nails, you need to wear shoes that fit properly, not too tight, not too loose. Enough room for your toes to move naturally without pressure. Go to a proper shoe store, get your feet measured, buy shoes that fit correctly even if they're not as stylish as what you've been wearing. Your feet will thank you, and your newly clear toenails will stay clear. All of these environmental factors, your bath mat, your socks, your shoes, your diet, your stress levels, they work together either to support your healing or to sabotage it. You can have the most effective antifungal treatment in the world, but if you're reinfecting yourself every single day through environmental contamination, you'll never achieve permanent clearance. This is why I give patients a complete protocol, not just a bottle of oil and good luck wishes. Treatment is only part of the equation. Environment and lifestyle are the other part. Address both and you will succeed. Ignore one and you'll keep struggling no matter what treatment you use. Now I'm going to show you exactly what the next 60 days should look like if you commit to this protocol. The week-by-week timeline, what to expect, what's normal, what's a red flag, and how to know when you've achieved complete permanent clearance. The timeline I'm about to give you is based on tracking 2,400 patients over 5 years, photographing their progress weekly, documenting every symptom change, every setback, every breakthrough. This isn't theory. This is what actually happens when you follow the protocol correctly. Day 1 through day 7, the first week is about stopping the active infection in its tracks. You won't see visible changes to the nail itself yet. That's impossible. Nails don't regenerate that quickly. But you will notice the symptoms that have been torturing you for months or years start to disappear almost immediately. The itching stops first, usually within 48 hours. Patients tell me it's the first thing they notice. They realize they haven't scratched their feet in 2 days, and it feels like a miracle. The constant burning sensation, that feeling like your toes are on fire when you wear shoes, that fades by day 3 or 4. The smell disappears by day 5 or 6. This shocks people more than anything else. They've lived with that foul odour for so long they assumed it was permanent, assumed it was just part of having this infection. Then suddenly it's gone, and they can take their shoes off in public without feeling mortified. These changes happen because you've halted the active fungal growth. The tea tree oil is killing the metabolically active fungal cells, the ones that produce the waste products that cause odour and inflammation. You haven't eliminated the infection yet, but you've stopped it from spreading and stopped the symptoms it was causing. This is also when people make their first major mistake. They feel so much better that they think they're cured. They cut back on applications or stop entirely. Don't do that. You've only killed the surface level infection. The deep colonies and dormant spores are still there, waiting. Week 2 through week 3. This is when inflammation starts visibly decreasing. The skin around your nails has probably been red, swollen, tender for a long time. You might have developed calluses or thickened skin as your body tried to protect itself from the chronic infection. That inflammation reduces dramatically during weeks 2 and 3. The redness fades, the swelling goes down, the skin texture starts normalizing. If you had pain when you pressed on the nail or the surrounding area, that pain is mostly gone by the end of week 3. This happens because the tea tree oil, combined with the lavender oil and almond oil in the formula, has anti-inflammatory properties that go beyond just killing fungus. They're actively healing the damaged tissue, improving circulation to the area, allowing your body's natural repair mechanisms to function properly again. You still won't see new nail growth yet. That's normal. Don't panic, nails grow slowly. The visible changes are coming, but they take time. Week 4, this is the breakthrough moment. This is when you see the first line of new, healthy nail growth at the base of your nail, right where it emerges from the cuticle. It will be pink, normal thickness, completely different from the yellow, brittle, crumbling nail you've been staring at for years. That line of healthy growth is proof that the treatment is working at a cellular level, that you've killed enough of the fungal infection for your body to start regenerating normal nail tissue. When patients send me photos at week 4, they're usually crying happy tears in the message. One woman told me, "I didn't think my body was capable of growing healthy nails anymore. I thought I'd destroyed them permanently." You haven't. Your body wants to heal. It's been trying to heal this entire time. You just needed to give it the right tools to fight off the infection that was preventing that healing. This is also the most dangerous time psychologically. You see that healthy growth and you think, "Great, I'm cured. I can stop now." No, you're not cured. You're maybe 30% of the way there. That healthy nail you're seeing is a few millimeters long. You need 6 to 8 more months of growth to completely replace the infected nail. And if you stop treatment now, the fungus will resurge and attack that new growth before it has a chance to fully develop. Keep going, stay consistent. You've come this far. Don't sabotage yourself when you're finally making progress. Week 5 through week 8. This is the patience phase. You're going to watch that line of healthy nails slowly, painfully slowly, grow outward toward the tip of your toe. It grows about 1.6 millimeters per month. You can't speed it up. You can't force it. You just have to trust the process and stay consistent with application. During this phase, you'll have a visible line separating the healthy new growth from the infected old growth. It's actually kind of satisfying to watch the infection being physically pushed out by the new nail. Every week, the healthy portion gets a little bigger, the infected portion gets a little smaller. Some people experience what I call the ugly phase during weeks 6 and 7. The contrast between healthy and infected nail is so stark that the nail actually looks worse than it did before treatment, even though it's objectively improving. The infected portion starts to separate from the nail bed. As it's pushed out, it might lift slightly, creating a gap that looks alarming. Don't freak out, this is normal, this is good. It means the infection is being expelled. Just keep the area clean, keep applying the formula, and let your body do its work. By week 8, you should be at approximately 50% clearance. Half of the visible nails should be healthy pink growth, the other half still showing signs of infection. If you're not at 50% by week 8, something is wrong. Either you're not applying it correctly, you're missing applications, or one of those environmental factors I talked about is sabotaging you. Go back and check. Are you using a fresh bath mat? Are you wearing cotton socks? Are you rotating your shoes and decontaminating them? Are you applying to completely dry nails? Are you massaging it in for the full 30 seconds? Fix whatever you're doing wrong and you'll start seeing progress again. Week 9 through week 12. This is the home stretch for most people. The infected portion of the nail is now limited to the outer third or quarter of the nail. The majority of what you see is healthy, normal nail. The smell is long gone, the pain is gone. The embarrassment is fading because you can actually see the end of this nightmare. By week 12, most patients reach what I call cosmetic clearance, meaning if someone looked at your feet from a normal distance, they wouldn't notice anything wrong. There might still be a tiny bit of discoloration at the very tip, but it's minimal enough that you could wear open-toed shoes without feeling self-conscious. This is when the second major mistake happens. People think, I look normal now, I'm done. You're not done. Cosmetic clearance is not the same as mycological clearance. That means you might look healed, but there could still be dormant fungal spores embedded deep in the nail bed that aren't visible to the naked eye. If you stop now, those spores will reactivate in 2 or 3 months, and you'll be right back where you started. Except now the fungus has been exposed to tea tree oil and survived, which means it might be harder to kill the second time around. You need to continue treatment for another 30 days minimum after you reach cosmetic clearance. This is the eradication phase. You're not treating visible infection anymore. You're making sure every last dormant spore is dead. Week 13 through week 16 maintenance phase. You've achieved complete clearance. The nail looks perfect. No discoloration, no thickness abnormalities, no separation from the nail bed. Under magnification, I can't detect any fungal presence, but you're still applying the formula once daily, not twice anymore. You can cut back to once, but you're still doing it every single day for another month. This ensures that even if there are a few stubborn spores hiding somewhere you can't see, they get eliminated before they have a chance to rebuild a colony. After week 16, you can stop daily application, switch to a prevention protocol, apply the formula 2 or 3 times per week indefinitely. This prevents reinfection and keeps your nails healthy long term. Some patients continue this prevention protocol for years. It costs them maybe $15 a month and gives them peace of mind that they'll never deal with this infection again. Now, what if you're not seeing results on this timeline? What if you're at week 6 and you've only seen maybe 10% improvement instead of the 40% you should be seeing? First, check the formula you're using. If you bought some random tea tree oil from your local drugstore or health shop instead of a medical grade formulation like Care Essentials, that's your problem. The concentration is wrong, the penetration enhancers aren't there, you're essentially wasting your time with an ineffective product. Second, check your application technique. Are you filing the nail surface first? Are you massaging it in? Are you letting it absorb for 5 minutes before putting on socks? If you're just slapping it on and immediately covering your feet, it's not penetrating. Third, check your environment. I can't stress this enough. If you're reinfecting yourself every morning with a contaminated bath mat or shoes full of fungal spores, no treatment on earth will work. Fourth, consider underlying health issues. If you have uncontrolled diabetes, if you're immunocompromised, if you're taking medications that suppress your immune system, those factors will slow your healing significantly. You might need to work with a doctor to address those issues alongside the topical treatment. And fifth, make sure you actually have a fungal infection and not something else. About 5% of cases that look like toenail fungus are actually psoriasis, eczema, trauma-related nail dystrophy, or bacterial infections. If you've been treating for 8 weeks with zero improvement, see a podiatrist and get a fungal culture done to confirm the diagnosis. But for the vast majority of people following the protocol correctly with the quality formula, the timeline I just described is what you'll experience. Symptoms gone in week 1, inflammation reduced by week 3, visible healthy growth by week 4, 50% clearance by week 8, cosmetic clearance by week 12, complete eradication by week 16, 4 months. That's all it takes to permanently eliminate an infection that's been ruining your life for years. Compare that to the prescription medications that take 48 weeks with a 15% success rate. Compare it to the laser treatments that cost thousands and fail half the time. Compare it to doing nothing and living with this infection for the rest of your life. 4 months of consistent effort is nothing. And here's what happens after those 4 months. You put on sandals without thinking about it. You go to the beach and walk barefoot in the sand. You get a pedicure without feeling mortified. You're intimate with your partner without worrying they're disgusted by your feet. You reclaim parts of your life that the fungus stole from you. That's what this is really about. Not just clear nails, freedom, confidence, the ability to live normally without constant shame and hiding. You deserve that. And it's within reach right now if you're willing to commit to the protocol. So now you have everything. The science, the timeline, the protocol, the environmental factors, the mistakes to avoid, the exact step-by-step method that's worked for thousands of people who are exactly where you are right now. You know why conventional treatments fail. You know why your doctor hasn't told you about this. You know what tea tree oil does at a cellular level that prescription medications can't match. You've seen the research. You've heard the patient's stories. And you're standing at a decision point. You can close this video and go back to what you've been doing. Keep spending money on treatments that give you temporary relief and then fail. Keep hiding your feet. Keep making excuses. Keep living with the shame and embarrassment that's been eating away at your confidence for years. Or you can try something different. I'm not going to manipulate you with fake scarcity. I'm not going to tell you there's only 12 bottles left or this offer expires in 6 hours. That's marketing garbage, and you're smart enough to see through it. What I will tell you is this. Care Essentials is the only tea tree oil-based formula I trust because it contains the exact combination of ingredients that clinical research has proven effective. Medical-grade tea tree oil with the right concentration of terpene 4-OL, lavender oil for synergistic antifungal activity, almond oil as a penetration enhancer, lemongrass oil to prevent biofilm formation, undesilenic acid to kill dormant spores. It's not the only option out there, but it's the one with the formulation that matches what actually works in clinical settings. The company offers a 60-day money-back guarantee. That's longer than most pharmaceutical trials. Use it for 2 months. Follow the protocol exactly as I've described. If you see zero improvement, get your money back. No questions, no hassle. They can afford to make that guarantee because the refund rate is under 4%. When a treatment actually works, people don't ask for refunds. If you want to try it, the link is in the description below or in the pinned comment. I'll put it there right after I post this video so you don't have to search for it. Now I need to be completely transparent about something. I don't work for this company. They don't pay me. I'm not an affiliate. I don't make money if you buy this or if you don't. I'm recommending it because after 5 years of clinical observation with my own patients, I've seen it work consistently when nothing else did. If you find another tea tree oil formula with the same ingredients and medical grade concentrations, use that instead. I don't care what brand you choose. I care that you choose something that's actually formulated correctly instead of wasting money on diluted oils from random companies that slap natural on the label and charge you for something that won't penetrate your nail bed. Here's what I want you to do in the next 5 minutes. If you're serious about ending this infection permanently, click the link in the description. Order enough to complete the full protocol. That's usually the 3-bottle or 6-bottle package depending on how many nails are infected and how severe it is. Most people need about 4 months of daily use to reach complete clearance. 1 bottle lasts approximately 6 weeks with proper application. Do the math, 3 bottles minimum, 6 bottles if you want to ensure you don't run out mid-treatment and lose momentum. When it arrives, don't just throw it in your bathroom cabinet and forget about it. Set reminders on your phone. Morning application after shower. Night application before bed. Same times every day. Make it as automatic as brushing your teeth. Get yourself 2 clean bath mats or commit to using fresh towels daily. Throw out your synthetic socks and buy cotton or merino wool. Rotate your shoes. Decontaminate them with antifungal spray. Cut back on sugar. Get more sleep. This is a complete protocol, not a magic pill. The formula is the weapon, but you need to create the right conditions for it to work optimally. And then, in 30 days, come back to this video and leave a comment telling me what you're experiencing. Tell me the itching stopped. Tell me the smell is gone. Tell me you're seeing healthy nail growth for the first time in years. Be the person who helps someone else find this information before they spend another $1,000 on treatments that fail. Your comment might be the thing that convinces someone to try this instead of giving up entirely. 60 days from now, you could be wearing sandals without thinking twice about it. You could be walking through the gym locker room with confidence. You could be intimate with your partner without that voice in the back of your head telling you they're disgusted by your feet. 90 days from now, someone might look at your feet and never know you spent years battling a fungal infection, because your nails will look completely normal, healthy, pink, perfect. That's not a fantasy. That's the documented outcome for over 90% of people who follow this protocol correctly. You can be one of them, or you can stay stuck in the cycle you've been in for however many years you've been dealing with this. The choice is yours. The link is in the description and pinned comment. I'm Dr. Martinez. I've spent 5 years fighting against a medical system that profits from your chronic illness instead of curing it. This is one small way I can fight back, by making sure you have access to information that works, even if it threatens billion-dollar industries. Go get your care essentials, start the protocol tonight, and I'll see you in the comments in 30 days when you're ready to share your results with people who need to hear that this actually works.